Welcome on the channel Nice Stories. Today we have intriguing story about
I'm in my 60s now, and as I sit on the porch of my modest home, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I find myself reflecting on the choices I made once that shaped my life and the lives of those around me. I was once married to a woman who brought joy into my world, and together we had a daughter who became the center of my universe. Our marriage had its fair share of ups and downs, as most do, but the love I had for my daughter was unwavering. She was the light in my life, the person who could make me smile even on the darkest days. However, during a particularly tumultuous period in our marriage, I made a mistake that has haunted me ever since. I began an affair with a coworker. She was trapped in a physically abusive relationship at home, and as we spent more time together at work, we formed a connection. It started innocently enough, a shared lunch break here, a sympathetic here to read, but it escalated into something more. I became her confidant, her escape, and eventually, her means to find the courage to leave her abusive husband, who is now in jail. Our affair was brief and ultimately led nowhere. We ended it soon after it began, realizing that what we were doing was wrong. But I took solace in knowing that she was safe and had found a way out of her dire situation. I thought perhaps some good had come from my wrongdoing. Little did I know the extent of the pain I had set in motion. When my wife discovered the affair, as secrets of that magnitude seldom stay hidden, everything fell apart. She was devastated, hurt beyond measure, and in her pain, she lashed out. She said terrible things about me to our daughter, who was just 15 at the time. Our daughter, the person I cherished, must begged to see me through the lens of betrayal painted by her mother's anguish. I took full responsibility for my actions. I apologized profusely to my wife and my daughter, hoping to repair the damage I'd caused. But despite my efforts, the distance between my daughter and me grew wider with each passing day. She became distant, her warm smiles replaced by cold stares, her laughter a distant memory. One afternoon, as the autumn leaves were falling, my daughter approached me with a resolve I hadn't seen before. Her eyes, once so full of life, were steely and hard. "I'm not going to speak with you anymore," she said, her voice steady but laced with pain. "I don't want you in my life." Her words struck me like a physical blow. I felt my heart shatter, the pieces scattering like the leaves at our feet. I begged her to reconsider, tears welling in my eyes. "Please," I whispered, "don't do this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." But her mind was made up. She turned away, leaving me standing alone amidst the falling leaves. In the months that followed, I tried everything to reconnect with her. I wrote letters, left voicemails, even showed up at events I thought she might attend, but she remained resolute in her decision to cut me out of her life. After a year of trying, I finally gave up, the weight of rejection too heavy to bear. Through mutual friends, I learned that my ex-wife had remarried a wonderful man who seemed to bring her the happiness I couldn't. I was genuinely pleased for her, hoping that perhaps her newfound contentment might soften her heart toward me and encourage our daughter to bridge the gap between us. But that hope never materialized. Feeling like a ghost in the town where I once had a family, I decided to move to a different state. I needed a fresh start, a place where the memories weren't so vivid and the whispers not so loud. I settled into a quiet life, retiring from my job and spending my days with my loyal dog by my side. My parents had passed away, and my brother had tragically died a couple of years prior. My sister remained my only close family, aside from the daughter who no longer acknowledged my existence. Years went by in relative solitude. I found a semblance of peace, though an undercurrent of sadness lingered, a dull ache that never truly faded. I often wondered about my daughter, where life had taken her, whether she was happy, but I pushed those thoughts aside, convincing myself that she was better off without me. And one afternoon, as I was tending to the garden, my phone rang, wiping the dirt from my hands. I checked the caller ID but didn't recognize the number. Answering it, I was greeted by a voice I hadn't heard in 17 years. "Dad," she said tentatively. My heart skipped a beat. It was her daughter. I instantly recognized her voice, though it was more mature now, tinged with a hint of apprehension. Surprisingly, I didn't feel the rush of emotion I might have expected. No surge of joy or anger, just a numb indifference. "Yes," I replied cautiously. "It's me." She began to cry softly. "I'm sorry," she said between sobs. "I'm sorry for cutting you out. Mom encouraged me to reach out. She said it was time." We spent the next hour catching up. She told me about her life. She was married, with a 12-year-old daughter of her own. She keeps asking about her granddaddy. My daughter said, a hopeful note in her voice, I was hoping maybe you could meet her. I listened quietly, absorbing her words. When she finished, there was a long pause. I don't know what to say. I finally replied. A lot of time has passed. I know, she whispered, but I'd like to try to make things right. I took a deep breath, the weight of years pressing down on me. I appreciate you reaching out, I said evenly, but I don't think it's a good idea. Please don't contact me again. There was silence on the other end, and then a quiet, I understand. I hung up the phone, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. That night, sleep eluded me. Memories of her as a child flooded my mind, the way she'd laugh at my silly jokes, the bedtime stories we'd share, the warmth of her small hand in mine. I realized that the next morning, after much contemplation, I decided to call her back. She answered on the first ring. "Dad, I'm sorry about yesterday," I said softly. "I shouldn't have been so harsh." "It's okay," she replied quickly. "I'm just glad you called." We talked more openly then, sharing stories and revisiting old memories. I told her about my plan to move abroad with my sister. Our parents had left us a charming farmhouse in their home country, and we intended to spend our remaining years there. "Would it be okay if we visited before you leave?" she asked hesitantly. "I'd really like for you to meet your granddaughter." I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Yes," I said. "You're welcome to come. Stay as long as you'd like." A week later, they arrived. Seeing her standing on my doorstep was surreal. She looked so much like her mother, same eyes, same smile. Her husband was polite, and my granddaughter was a delightful child, full of curiosity and energy. We spent several days together, sharing meals and stories. I showed them around the town, introduced them to my sister, and even took them to some of my favorite spots by the lake. It was pleasant, but there was an unspoken tension, a lingering sense of things left unsaid. One evening, as the sun cast golden hues across the sky, my daughter and I sat on the porch in silence. After a while, she turned to me, her eyes searching mine. "Dad," she began softly, "I want us to be a family again. I want you to be part of our lives." I looked out over the yard, taking in the sight of my granddaughter playing with the dog. "I appreciate that," I said slowly, "but I'm not sure I can be the person you want me to be." She looked down, her hands twisting nervously. "I know I shut you out, and I'm sorry. I was young and hurt, but I realize now that I missed out on so much." "It's not just about that," I replied gently. "So much time has passed. I've built a life of solitude, and I'm set in my ways. I don't have the emotions you might expect. I can't just pick up where we left off." Tears welled in her eyes. "I was hoping we could start fresh." I sighed, feeling the weight of her hopes and my own limitations. "I don't want to hurt you," I said, "but I have to be honest. I don't feel that connection anymore." She nodded slowly, wiping away a tear. "I understand," she whispered. "I guess I was naive to think we could go back." We sat there for a while longer, the silence filled with unspoken regrets. When it was time for them to leave, we exchanged polite goodbyes. My granddaughter hugged me tightly. "Bye, Granddaddy," she said with a smile. "I'll miss you." I mustered a small smile. "Take care, Lily." After they left, the house felt emptier than usual. I tried to shake off the feeling, focusing on preparations for the move. Soon, my sister and I relocated to the farmhouse, a quaint, peaceful place surrounded by rolling hills and open skies. The tranquility was a balm to my weary soul. Months passed without any contact from my daughter. She had my number, but the phone remained silent. I didn't reach out either, accepting that perhaps this was for the best. One morning, as I sipped my coffee on the porch, I found myself gazing at the horizon, wondering about her. Was she happy? Did she find closure? I hope so. I know some might think I'm cold or unfeeling, but the truth is more complicated. It's not that I don't care, it's that the years of distance and the scars of past mistakes have built walls that are hard to tear down. I made choices that led me here, and I accept that. Life doesn't always offer second chances, and sometimes the bridges we burn can't be rebuilt. I bear the responsibility for my actions, and I've made peace with the consequences. As for my daughter, I hope she finds happiness and that her life is filled with love and joy. If she ever decides to visit, the door is always open, but if not, I wish her well from afar. In the quiet of the countryside, I find solace. The days are simple, the nights calm. My sister and I tend to the farm, and my faithful dog keeps me company. It's a humble existence, but it's enough. Perhaps someday, I'll find the courage to reach out again, but for now, I'll let things be. content in the knowledge that at least we had a chance to say goodbye.